Welcome to Deadscape Diaries, where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs, and the darkest stories come to life. Tonight, we venture into a chilling tale of a cryptic call that leads to a nightmarish discovery, where the dead speak, and the living are drawn into their grasp. So, turn down the lights, lock the doors, and listen closely. The truth behind the call is more terrifying than you can imagine. The call from the other side. The call from the other side. It was a quiet Thursday evening when Sarah Collins, a 28-year-old marketing professional, found herself alone at her apartment. She had just finished her work for the day and was settling in with a book. The rain tapped gently against the windows, and the occasional car drove by outside, but the evening was otherwise uneventful. Her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, a series of digits she didn't recognize. Usually, Sarah didn't answer unknown calls, but something in her gut made her pause. She picked up the phone, but before she could even say hello, she heard a soft voice, strange, distorted, as if it were coming from underwater. "Sarah, you have to listen, it's not over, find it." The voice crackled before the line went silent. Confused and unsettled, Sarah checked the number, but there was no information. No name, no voicemail, just a jumble of numbers that didn't appear to belong to anyone she knew. Her fingers hovered over the phone screen, unsure whether to hang up or redial. Before she could make up her mind, her phone buzzed again, this time with a voicemail notification. Her heart skipped a beat. The voicemail was the same distorted voice, but this time, it was clearer. She hit play, and the chilling message echoed in her mind. "You need to go back to the old house. The answer is there. Find the key, find the truth. It's coming for you, Sarah." A cold shiver ran down her spine. She knew the voice was unfamiliar, yet there was something strangely familiar about it, something unsettling. The mention of an old house didn't help matters. She didn't recognize it. Was it a prank? Or something worse? As the evening wore on, Sarah tried to shake the eerie feeling that had settled in her chest. She turned off her phone and tried to focus on her book. But as she did, she felt the temperature in the room drop. The once comfortable apartment now felt cold and oppressive. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw it, just a flash at first. A dark, shapeless figure standing in the hallway outside her bedroom door. Her heart raced, and she rushed to the door, but there was nothing there. She convinced herself it was her imagination, nothing more. Yet, as the night progressed, the occurrences grew stranger. Around midnight, Sarah went into the kitchen to grab some water. As she opened the fridge, she noticed something out of place. A small glass jar on the counter, one she didn't remember leaving there, was now toppled over, its contents spilled across the surface. Confused, she straightened the jar and wiped up the mess. It was a strange moment, but she didn't feel like it was important. As she turned to leave the kitchen, a whisper came from behind her, soft, almost imperceptible, but clear enough to make her stop dead in her tracks. "Sarah, find the key." Her breath caught in her throat. She whipped around, but no one was there. Her pulse quickened. Was it a ghost? A hallucination? Or had she just imagined it all? She couldn't ignore it any longer. She had to figure out what was happening. The next morning, after a restless night of strange dreams and whispers in the dark, Sarah tried to push the unsettling events from her mind. She went to work as usual, but the sense of unease never left. Her phone kept buzzing with calls from the same strange number, but each time she picked up, there was only silence or a distorted voice telling her to find the key. Desperately, Sarah tried to piece it all together. The cryptic messages, the feeling of being watched, the shadowy figure at the door. She couldn't understand what was happening, but there was something she couldn't shake. Something was telling her that the key was real. That afternoon, she decided to go to the local library, hoping to find some clue, some explanation. While scanning the history section, her eyes landed on a newspaper article from over a decade ago. It was about a young woman who had gone missing under mysterious circumstances. Her name was Lily Hart, and the article mentioned that she had lived in an old house on the outskirts of town, the very place the voicemail had told her to go. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she read more. Lily had disappeared without a trace, and the police had never solved the case. The article noted that there had been reports of strange activity at the house before Lily vanished, unexplained noises, objects moving on their own, and sightings of a shadowy figure watching from the windows. Could this be the house? Sarah muttered to herself. The eerie connection was too strong to ignore. She had to go. That evening, after gathering her courage, Sarah drove to the old house. It was dark and abandoned, just as the article described. The windows were boarded up, and the front yard was overgrown with weeds. As she stepped out of her car, she felt a strange pull, like an invisible force was drawing her in. The air was thick with tension, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She approached the front door, which creaked open with a gentle push. The inside was musty and decayed, but as she stepped into the hallway, she felt a chill in the air. Something was here, something waiting. Sarah's eyes darted around the dimly lit room, searching for any sign of the key the voice had mentioned. But instead of a key, she found something far more terrifying. A photograph, torn and faded, of a young woman who looked remarkably like her, standing in front of the very house she was now standing in. Suddenly, the whispers came again, louder, clearer, as if the house itself was speaking to her. "Sarah, help me." The voice was unmistakable. It was Lily's voice. Without thinking, Sarah ran up the stairs, following the whispering sound that seemed to lead her deeper into the house. She found herself in a bedroom at the end of the hall, where the air grew heavier. As she stepped inside, a cold breeze swirled around her, and the door slammed shut behind her. In the center of the room, a small, old-fashioned key sat on a dusty table. It looked out of place, almost as if it had been waiting for her all along. Before she could reach for it, a shadow loomed in the corner of the room, growing taller, its shape twisting into something grotesque. A figure emerged from the darkness, Lily. But it wasn't the Lily from the photo. Her eyes were wide and vacant, her skin pale, as if she had been trapped between worlds for far too long. "You shouldn't have come," Lily whispered, her voice distorted, like an echo from another realm. "The key is what binds us. You can't escape it." Terrified, Sarah grabbed the key and ran, but as she reached for the door, it wouldn't open. The house seemed to come alive, the walls creaking, the floorboards groaning. She could hear the whispers of the other souls trapped here, all calling out for help. But before she could react, the shadow that was Lily lunged toward her, pulling her into the darkness. And then, everything went black. The next morning, Sarah's phone buzzed again, but this time, the voicemail was silent. The number had changed. A new voice, low, almost comforting, whispered, "You found the key, but it's too late." Now, you're one of us. And Sarah, too, was trapped, caught in a world between the living and the dead, forever bound to the house and its dark secrets. Thank you for joining me tonight on this journey into the unknown. If you dare to venture further into the realm of the strange and supernatural, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another terrifying tale. And remember, not all stories should be told. Some things are better left buried in the dark. Until next time, stay safe, and never answer a call you can't explain.